Hey, what's happening, guys? It's Jamie. It is Wednesday, January 4th, 2023. I have to keep saying 2023 because, when the year clicks over, it takes me a while to kind of get that 2020, 23 in my head. I keep saying 22. So I am in front of Kohl's in Burlington. I stopped here because I have a few things to do in the area. But I did not check to see what time they opened. I just showed up, and I'm watching people. So I'm laughing, but I'm just not walking to the door. But I watched several people walk over to the door and check. The door is locked. They can't go in because they open at 10. It's so easy. You just check your phone, your smartphone, or whatever, your iPhone or Android, and just say, what time does it open? And it tells you. But I just came down here because I had things to do. And I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying that we do a lot of this. Like, a lot of times we just jump in, we act, and then later on we're like, oh, I should have thought that through. And it may or may not affect, you at the time. So I only have a story to share today. I just checked the market. The market's open. It's 9:35 as I do this video. And I looked at the market. Tesla was down 14% yesterday. I think it closed at 12.5. Missed deliveries, 3%, all that stuff if you follow it. But overall, the stock market is going to continue to do what it does, right? I don't know what's going to happen this year as far as share prices on the S&P or everything that's happening in the stock market for 2024. I listen to different people. I get different opinions and input to consider as far as like what I'm doing. But ultimately, you're responsible for your own actions, right? Just like me driving down here and figuring like, okay, what next? So the story I'm going to share is going to be pertaining and relevant to how you're trading or investing and what you're doing with your money. And I'm not going to make a long, go of this, but the story goes like this. I'm in my mid-20s. I'm at Foxwoods Resort and Casino. At the time, I used to really, I was into nightclubs in Providence, Boston, New York. I had some friends that were DJs. The friend, his name was DJ Break. His name was Greg. And he had a room, like a comp. You used to get the points and stuff you earned. So he's like, hey, let's go down to the casino. And, we had a girlfriend. We went down there. And I said, all right. So we got a couple rooms. And we're having a good time eating, playing games. What I mean is like roulette, blackjack, slot machines, just stuff like. I wasn't a poker player at the time, but we went there, and I'm at a craps table, and at the craps table I'm playing. There's a pass line and a do not pass line. The minimum bet is $7,000. The maximum bet was $7,000, I believe. The minimum bet was $20 or $25. I don't remember because it was a long time ago exactly. But I was playing the minimum bet, that I know. And it was around midnight, 12:30 in the morning. And there was another guy, little Italian guy, sitting at the end of the table. Or he was standing, playing the game. He was in a suit. There was a couple guys behind him in suits, big guys, younger guys. And it was like a Sopranos, which wasn't out at the time, episode, right? And the guy was losing. Whatever rolls I was, as long I kept rolling, right? I was rolling. I had the hot hand, right? I was rolling, and I was just winning the minimum bet over and over again. But he was losing, let's say $7,000 every time, and this went on for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and maybe he lost 50, 60, 70 grand. I don't know. It was more than I made a year. And I was like, oh my goodness. And he was getting mad, and I don't speak fluent Italian, but I can tell you he was mad. I understood some of the words he was saying. And the two guys kind of shifted menacingly, behind me. And I'm not a ninja. I didn't pack a gun or anything like that. So I just said, let me get out of here. And I took my little bit of chips, my little bit of earnings, and I left. A couple hours later, I ran into him. He was coming out of an elevator. I was going into an elevator, and he says, he sees me, recognizes me, and he looked happier. So he was with his two guys and some younger lady who might have been a family member, might have been his secretary. I don't know. I didn't ask. But she's very attractive. I remember that. And he goes, "Hey, you, come here. Hand. I want to talk to you." And I was like, "Oh, well, I would, but I got to get back to my room." He's like, No. Come here. You're going to talk to me. I want to show you something." So the two guys, again, kind of step to me a little bit and give me that, like, "You're coming with us" type of thing. And I don't know if I'm going to end up in a desert somewhere. I mean, there's no deserts. It's Foxwoods Resort and Casino. But he was smiling, and I could tell he was in a better mood. So I said, "You know what? I was a bit adventurous and mischievous." So I said, "All right, where do you want to go?" He goes, "I want to show you there's a room. Come on." And we go on this elevator, and we go to a floor. I couldn't tell you what the floor was, but when we get off the elevator, it was a private thing. It's a big buffet, lobster tail, shrimp, carpaccio, different, like high-end stuff, and a bar. And I was like, "Oh, pretty nice." We sat down, we made small talk. He asked me what I did. He told me some of what he did, and we ate. And I could tell I felt like he wasn't going to kill me. And then we went into this baccarat room, right? I remember him saying, "He's with me. He's going to sit with me." So I went in with him. I sat down again. He looks like James Bond, and he was probably, I would say, late 60s to early 70s, if I had to guess. Sharp guy, he's a little guy. He might even been older, but the guys that were sitting at the table, there was an Asian couple and the guy was in a tank top and shorts and flip-flops. There was an Arabic guy, with a turban. I don't remember. I think he was wearing a T-shirt. I don't remember. He was sitting where I couldn't see his pants. But the Asian people were right next to me. And then there was somebody else. But those are the two people I remember, because there was the Asian people, him, the Arabic guy, and a couple other people. And they just look like regular people, other than my Sopranos guy. And I'm sitting there watching, and he had a line of credit with the house. And they brought him, I don't know how much it was. I didn't count it, but it was the chips were hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Because now the chips are a different level. They're chips that I've never played with to this day. But there's 10,000. There's these different, pink and green, where they represent 25, 50,000. I couldn't tell you exactly. I just remember looking, and the minimum bet was, the ante was $75,000 versus $7,000 down, which still was way out of my league then. At the craps table. So though I've done better in my life, I still would never sit down and put 75 myself. I'm not at the level where I could do that and make it feel like it was $25 in my head. But this is what they were playing, and he's losing. He wasn't winning. $75,000. He was laughing, right? So whatever happened between the time that he left and I saw him again, I don't know. But in reflection of that moment, I think that he was just trying to show me that it wasn't really about the money with him. It was about the action of him losing, and him losing sort of to me, and him getting a little bit emotional. He wanted to show me that it really wasn't about the money. It was about the action and how he wanted to win. And if he lost, it really didn't really matter if he lost $100,000 or $1 million. That's what I saw, And I was in awe, and I never forgot that. And I could still very clearly see certain parts of that, when I close my eyes and imagine what would happen, just like you can with any memory. And how I reflected today is, fast forward 20-something years later, and I'm like, okay, I get into investing, right? Whether it's into real estate or if I'm buying shares of a company that I believe in, or I'm straight up speculating, sort of gambling. There's some emotions involved, but I'm on a certain level, and I don't want to get out of my level. Dana White, who I listened to a podcast of him on Action Junkies, I think it's called, and he was talking about the superhuman protocol stuff and what happened with that, and then he was talking about how he goes to Caesar's Palace amongst a couple other places, and one of the things he said, again, here's another guy on a whole different level, and he's worth $500 million. He would play with hundreds of thousands of dollars, but he would go in and he'd use as much of the house's money as possible. If he lost, they know that he's good for it, right? He has a good standing line of credit, and he's going to pay it back. But when he wins, and he gave an example where he's playing blackjack, that's his game, and he won like $500,000 within under 5 minutes. He says like 3.5 minutes, he says. I was up I stood up and I left. And they hate that. And I'm like, man, I know, because when I got into poker, playing Texas Hold'em, I was pretty good at it. I did way better than I did with anything else, and I won way more than I lost, because the probabilities were based on other players, the cards. It wasn't just like putting your money in a slot machine and hoping that 1,000 other people lost and it was your chance to win. When you sit at the table, the ante goes around and around, right? That little button. If you're at a Texas Hold'em game, whether you're in a tournament or if you're in a game, whether it's heads up or a full table. Now, there's times where you can just throw your cards in. There's times you have to ante the minimum, right? Or call, right? So I used to play 1-2 games, and I got up to 5-10, tables. But I started always with the smallest table, and it was a patience game. It was being patient. And the more patient you were, the better the chances of the cards coming your way. And you didn't even have to have the best cards if you knew what you were dealing with other players and being able to call their bluff or being able to push them out of a hand, and you'd win the pot. And the house always wins, right? They're getting their piece from what you're playing. So what that taught me about investing and looking back at those things that I did not, I haven't played poker in a long time, but I can tell you that when I look at a company, it reminds me of that. And the level on that, and if I use margin or leverage, I'm not going to get in over my head. I don't want to get into money I can't afford to lose. When I used to go to the casino and I'd have $200 to $500, I'd say, if I lose it, I lose it. I was prepared to lose it. I was okay with losing it. I just wanted to last as long as it could, and I wanted to enjoy the price action and the game and the atmosphere and everything that came with it for as long as I could. If I'm buying into a company, if I'm investing in like a Tesla company, and I'm doing my fundamentals and thinking, hey, it's a good company, depending on what my expectations are, short-term and long-term, if I'm like, hey, I'm in this thing right now, I'm looking this week to swing trade and make a profit, whether I'm selling a call or selling a put, which I don't really do, or short a stock. I've only done a few times. I certainly would have made a lot of money shorting Tesla these past few months. But I'm always just trying to flip to make money. Anytime I've made money at the table, just like Dana White shared the story where you get up and you walk away, it's like locking profits. So unless you're a long-term investor where you're buying any company that you think is going to be around in 10, 20, 30 years, and your money's still doing better, invested in that company regardless of the volatility, you're going to still make it statistically, over 20 or 30 years, if you put in 100, 500, $1,000 a month, or whatever you're putting, you're going to have way more than you would, whether it's 100, 200, 300% more than if you just put it into a savings account and sit around waiting. You're like, hey, I saved up $100,000. I saved up $1 million. Well, if you had put it in, some of your money that you kind of discipline yourself. Say, I constantly put that money away. I pay myself that $100 or $500 a month. If you did that for 20 years, you're going to have way more than the guy who just put it into a savings account. That's fact, 100%. So, if you're investing right now and you're like scared of what's coming in 2023, which I'm not scared, but I'm prepared that it could be a difficult year. You got to know your risk. I would not. I have people that I know that are like, hey, I borrowed this and I want it. What do I do? And I'm like, man, I don't think you should do that. I think that you're spending money you don't have, and I'm not putting you down. I'm just saying that it sucks that for me that Tesla is down. Yesterday, it was down over 14%. I don't know what it's going to look like when I get back on here, but though it pained me and it hurt my account, the margin call I had in Robinhood, I'm able to meet. I'm able to sell some shares or put some more money in, and it just sucks. I'm just like, it sucks, man. I was up to almost 30 grand now. I'm down to 10, right? But this is how it goes. I don't get emotional about it. I just wanted to recognize it and move on. So in the market of 2023 and 24, you have already, if you're a 401k Roth IRA person or whatever index person, you're down, right? The chances are you're down 10, 20, 30, 40%, maybe more. I don't know. I was down 37%, but I'm not touching that money that's there versus my trading money. And I go back to my little Italian guy in that story, where you just got to recognize what level you at, and don't get in overhead and over leverage. That guy obviously at 75 grand a hand minimum. He was in a great mood. He was losing, still in a great mood. So to him, that was like me losing $25. We're like, I prepared to lose the 500. Maybe he went in with the saying, hey, I'm willing to lose $1 million, $5 million. I don't know. I mean, he didn't divulge to me his portfolio, or the money he had. Not saying that he was over leveraged, but I think that we do that. I'm sitting here now, as I'm in this video, and I'm watching now. As it gets closer to 10 o'clock, and I know it's going to open at 10. The countless people that are walking up here, checking the door, right, and it's locked. And they check the door and it's locked. Another person pulls up. All you got to do is look at the phone. I could just look at my phone, which I did, 30 something minutes ago, and saw that it opens at 10. So if I'm here and all these people are here, which aren't like 30, 40 people, but since I've been here, it's probably been 15 people over the past 30 minutes that are walking up. There's another one right now who's peeking in. I mean, this says it right on the door, and the door's locked. They still got to check it. They just check it. It says on the door 10 o'clock. Let me check the door anyway. And then they walk back to their car. Somebody else pulls up. They can see the other people just do that, and then they go and do it. That's even more. So the one person goes, checks the door, and then the other person, I don't know, they think, well, by the time I walk there, maybe it'll be open. And we do that. We get in over our heads. We act, impetuously, emotionally, or stubbornly or arrogantly, and just think that, it's going to go our way. And if we don't have a plan and we don't know our place, know our where we don't get in over our head, so to speak, and that's when things get emotional. That's when things get scary. So again, with the stocks that I have in Robinhood, which I just trade with, and my goal is, hey, for 2023, let me see if I can get it to 100 grand this year. Now I'm down from where I was, which was almost 30 grand. It was up 28 grand, which is still a far cry from 100, and then it comes back down to 10. But I know that's probably not forever, right? So if the share price went from 300 to 100, I'm just using this as an example, and it may go to 60 or 80, I'm prepared. And if I have to, I'll add more money if I have to. Or I'll just stick it out, and if I say, I just have to white knuckle it and wait for it to come back, right? Which again, it sucks that you have to wait. But your money in the savings account is not doing you any good anyway. But at the same, destination from start to finish, you're going to end up with just a little bit, like if you've been adding the same money and in 6 months or a year or whatever it is, your money is probably not going to be worth as much as my money. And that account, even though it pulled back, 37%. You're like, what? 37%? Yeah. And then it goes back to where it was, and then it blows up, and it goes up where I make 37% or 100%. That is my own personal conviction, but that may not happen. It may not happen. But I know my place. I know where I'm at. I know my leverage position, just like Dana White when he goes to Caesar's Palace, just like my friend there who brought me to the Baccarat room, and just like having probabilities of things happening, right? You can say it's most likely that this company is not going to go bankrupt. Doesn't mean they won't, but if it does, I'm prepared to lose the $500, right? Like if you're using where I used to go to the casino and say, I got $200 to $500. If I lose it, I'm okay. My life is not going to change. Hey, I got $5 million. If I lose it, just like me, if I lose the $5 million, I'm okay, right? Because I have 500 million, right? And some people are at that level. I'm not at that level. Know your level, but take action and just understand that there could be some things that happen along the way that don't go the way you planned, and you got to adapt and pivot. As this happens and as things develop, and then have a strategy. And again, you can change your strategy, but it's good to have some plan, right? Because if it doesn't go according to plan, you can say, okay, what now? What's next? That's what's worked best for me. And life experience teaches you. So that's my story. That's what I got right now. I'm going to go back and look at the market here, the 953, see where Tesla's at. And to me, it's just fun, right? Like I'm having fun. I'm not worried. I'm not concerned. And it's good if you're not get this external pressure, right? Like, how am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to feed my family? Don't do that. It's not a good thing. I've done that. I've been in places where I've got in trouble, right? And you can do that. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You can over leverage. I've seen friends of mine that have lost millions and millions of dollars. They had a lifestyle. One in particular that comes to mind was worth almost $100 million. And within a month, he lost everything, right? So you can make some bad steps, right, that are tragic. But we just got to try to educate ourselves and learn and be a little bit more hesitant and cautious in some cases, okay? Best wishes. I will see you guys next video.